A very good afternoon, everyone. I hope my voice is audible. You can use the chat to quickly confirm if I'm audible. Thank you all. Let me just drop a message there. Okay, great. I see a few responses already. Okay. Very good evening, Mr. Murugan, Ms. Ishrat Ali. All right. Very good afternoon, very good evening. I'm sorry. Um, all right. I see a bunch of them who've responded. Yeah, Mr. Murugan, I'm right here. We will be starting off shortly. We're just waiting for more of the audience to join. Let me just call out some of them who I can see here. Mr. Ronti, Mr. Murugan again, Ms. Nilima, good evening. Mr. Shubho Chatterjee, Mr. Ramesh, Sriveda, Mr. Hari Prasad, Mr. Kamal. Good evening, sir. Good evening. Glad to see you. Ms. Yasmin. Yeah, I hope I'm audible now. I see a bunch of them who said no audio. All right. I hope all of you are able to hear me. Okay, great, great. So, audience, as I mentioned, we will be starting off shortly, but just to keep you all posted, we should start in about 2 to 3 minutes while we wait for a few more of the audience to join us. I'd like to know what is it that you are expecting from today's session. Obviously, as you all know, we are going to talk about uh, building competency frameworks, the need for it. What exactly is a competency framework, and most importantly, what we will be covering from the HR point of view is what is essentially the HR's role in trying and navigating success through a competency framework. So that is what we'll be looking at. So more on that as we go forward. But what I'd like to know in the meantime is from you guys in the chat, what is it that you think will be covered in today's session in terms of competency frameworks? Or is it something that there is from your end that you'd like to hear? Please put it on the chat. We can have a small conversation before we start off. So I look forward to seeing some of the comments on chat. Thank you. All right, I see some responses already. Let me just read that out. Good to see the responses, guys. Thank you so much for this. All right, okay, let me just quickly read that out. Connect skill matrix with training. Okay, clarification between talent, skill, and competency for startup perspective. Mrs. Shrat says need assessment. All right. role of proper human resource management. Okay, I think that is eventually something that we'll understand. Mr. Ramesh says understanding the HR competency and evaluation procedure. Okay, competency framework for designing the learning need. And Mr. Hariprasad, essence of good HR can be seen from the performance of the organization. Yeah, and HR position for business development. Okay. So I'd also like to mention that aside competency frameworks, of course, our speaker will be open to taking up any HR-based questions as well. We will look at a dedicated Q&A session towards the end of the session. So, audience, I hope all of you are with me on this. So let us get started. Once again, thank you all for your patience. I hope my voice is audible and clear. Let me know in if at all you lose me somewhere in between, just keep me posted. I'll do my best. Once again, thank you all. Very good evening to everyone. My name is Siddharth. I handle product marketing at WebSol. I will be your moderator for the day. Along with me is Mr. Avinash Tyagi, our speaker for the day, who I will introduce as the session goes forward. So a quick yes or no if my voice is audible is great, would be great. And I hope you're able to see my screen as well, guys. Okay, great. Thank you all. Okay, awesome. Great, wonderful. So let's move forward. All right. So before we move forward, I'd like to mention that I'll run you through a short, maybe about 2 or 3 slides of content regarding the company I represent to give you an idea from where we come, followed by which we will get into today's topic itself. All right. So this is our company evolution, a short timeline. We were in fact part of Wipro itself back in the years 1988 to 2000. We were the peripherals division, the manufacturing division of the company. So what I mean by peripherals is take printers. Your printers obviously deal with a lot of parts, right? So that is something that we manufactured. We used to offer this as a vendor-based service. Aside this, we also were very well known for the dot matrix printers manufacturing, which used to be a big thing back in the days. Followed by which, over the years, we also started offering our signature offering, which is the managed print services solution. More on that as we go forward. And over the decade, we also introduced a digital solutions lineup. Now, over here, essentially, what we have is a SaaS platform for businesses ranging from various industry verticals. And from there on, we have evolved over the years. And a latest update to this lineup of our timeline is we have recently rebranded ourselves. We were, in fact, known by the name WEP Solutions or Wipro ePeripherals. Our brand will be represented in the name of WebSol moving forward. So we have an entirely refreshed lineup of our solution offerings. We have a business suite on offer as well. What I will do is I'll give a short briefing on what this offering is as we move forward. All right. A quick few highlights of our company. We come with close to 24 years of industry expertise. We have close to 535, to be precise, enterprise customers. We also have close to 2 lakh retail customers. We do have presence on the retail end as well, aside the enterprise side. And we are present in over 2,500 service locations spread across India. We've deployed over 1 lakh devices. When I mean devices, this could mean printers or retail billing printers as well. And we also won the Company of the Year award awarded by CIO Tech Outlook Review for the year 2022 for our automation solution. Some of our clients that you can see at the bottom of the slide, some core clients. All right, moving forward. Now, this is just one slide on our business suite, what we have on offer. Now, FluidWorks, we are known by the term FluidWorks. The idea is we have our solution offering will be fully scalable based on each and every company's or, in fact, an individual's requirement, right? Each and every individual is unique who represents that specific organization. So our solution's main agenda is to try and provide a flexible and scalable solution for every individual who's contributing or playing a crucial role for that organization. So this is why we call it fluid, simply because we are able to flow. We are able to flow and we are able to provide a flexible approach to any kind of requirement there is. So that is FluidWorks. Under FluidWorks, we have an umbrella of offerings. What we have here is Fluid Pro, we have Fluid Print, Fluid Map, and Fluid Trail. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take exactly 20 seconds for each of these solutions to explain to you what this is. So Fluid Pro essentially is our managed IT services. What this means is we offer your server, your IT infrastructure completely to be outsourced to us. So that would mean we will be able to take care of your Wi-Fi related things, your network solutions, your website monitoring, your real-time user monitoring, and most importantly, we'll be able to deploy servers and we'll even be able to strategize an infrastructure for you. Assume that you're starting from scratch, or if you already have a solution in place, we will enable you to work in such a way that we'll be able to provide you cost savings. We'll be able to provide you AI-based automation. That is something that we take care of on the Fluid Pro end. Moving to Fluid Print, this is our managed print services. What this means is we manage your print. Assume that you have about 50 to 500 printers spread across your organization in different locations. What we do here is we will be able to provide you printers on a rental basis. And what we also do is we'll deploy various printers on various locations, and we monitor all your printers using a remote solution, which is called Fluid Map. So we cannot just deploy printers, right? We also need to monitor them. So that is where Fluid Map comes into picture. And just before I get into Fluid Map, I'd like to mention that our pricing structure works on a pay per print basis. So what that means is based on the number of papers you print, assume per month or 3 months, a quarter, or even a year, you will be charged based on the number of papers you print. Moving to Fluid Map. Fluid Map is basically an IT asset management tool, which will be deployed in your network, in your server, and you'll be able to monitor all your printers, all your devices spread across your network from various locations from one location only. So we will be able to monitor your uptime, downtime, or if there's any toner issues, if you need replacement, all of that can be monitored. And moving to Fluid Trail. Now this is our workflow automation solution, and I'd like to talk specifically for the HR point of view. Since I'm sure the majority of the audience here today is from the HR end, we have a solution called Fluid Trail, where we offer a use case for HRs, that is employee records management. We also offer candidate onboarding, offboarding automation in a very seamless manner. And we will also be able to offer you your appraisal management, performance management. All of that is taken care from our solution. So essentially, it's like a HRMS, but not exactly a HRMS also. We'll be able to do some things that a HRMS can do, and most of the things that a document management solution can do. So that is how we position our Fluid Trail solution. Well, aside that, there are other solutions on the tax end, which I'll not be explaining today. And as I mentioned, we also have presence on the retail end. What I mean by retail end is your billing printers, the ones that you see in Kirana stores, departmental stores. That is our retail business offering. So that's it on the introduction end. I will not take any more time. Once again, thank you all for your patience. So what I'm going to do right now is quickly, I will launch a poll for all of you to just understand if there is anyone who's looking at a demo of sorts. So let me just quickly launch the poll. So audience, obviously, I'm not going to show a demo or anything as such because it's a fully knowledge session only. So would you be interested in a free demo of our Fluid Trail HR automation solution? Based on your availability and requirement, we will be able to give you a free demo of our solution. Please note that this is an absolutely free of cost demo. Based on our availability, we will understand your requirement, or if you're even exploring for the matter, we will be able to show you a free demo in the next maybe 4 to 5 working days. So I will leave this poll on for the next 1 minute. Thank you. Audience, I'd also like to mention that I'm sure most of you will already have a solution in place, but we would nevertheless be able to show you a demo of our solution. And to just understand if there is any process discrepancy at your place right now, we'll be able to show you how that can be automated in real time. All right. So I think I'll end the poll right now. Thank you so much for your inputs. Wonderful. So let's go to the next slide. And without any further ado, I'd like to introduce our speaker for the day, Mr. Avinash Tyagi. A quick introduction to him. Mr. Avinash Tyagi brings in over 24 plus years of experience extending to strategic HR, business restructuring, performance management, global recruitment, and tech implementation as some of his core areas of expertise. Mr. Avinash, having held various roles as country head, HR head in the past for Landmark Group and various other managerial roles in other industry verticals, his experience extends by folds and uh, adds value to those aspiring to make a difference in the field of HR and leadership. He has exposure across various industries, to name a few, such as retail, pharma, educational, and so on. I take great pleasure in introducing him on yet another webinar with us. This is, in fact, our third recurring webinar with Pepsol, that is. So I take great pleasure in introducing him on yet another webinar. Mr. Avinash, I'm sure the audience is looking forward to directly hearing from you. Over to you, sir. Thank you. Yeah. Mr. Avinash, I think you're on
Yeah,
mute. Yeah.
thank you so much, Mr. Siddharth. So let me try to switch on this my video. Right. So straight away we'll go to this our session today. So it is very interesting topic very close to me and my heart. So we are in the season of World Cup today. So what will I will try to relate it what's happening in the cricket, or because we all understand, most of us understand cricket with the competencies. So now, as a winning team, I need some people in my team who are good batsmen, some people who are possibly good in bowling, some spinners, some pacers, some people who are very good in fielding. I also need wicket keeper. So what's happening here is I am needing different type of people to run this team and to be successful. So winning team will be there if I have got a desired competencies. So competency will also vary from pitch to pitch. In certain pitches, possibly I will require more of the spinners, and in certain pitches, I will require more of the batsmen. So the competency will vary according to time, according to situation, and according to the game also. Right. So this is basically what we understand from the competence. So I'm trying to make it slightly lighter and trying to connect with the cricket. Now let's try to understand what are the basics of competency. So actually, so the latest said by Dave Ulrich, he has said that very effectively. He says that competency work has become leading logic model for diagnosing, framing, and improving leadership in general, and human resource management in particular. So without competency model, it is like it is very difficult actually to diagnose, frame, and improve leadership or human resource. So for every aspect of leadership as well as human resource, competency work become very, very important. So let's try to understand the literal meaning of competence. So now we all know that competent means able to do something, right? We say that a person is competent in particular thing. For example, a competent singer is a person who is able to sing very well. Now, similarly, we extend that competent to competence. So competence is a general quality possessed by a competent person. Like if somebody has a beauty, that person will be beautiful. Similarly, if somebody has competence, that person would be competent, right? So we link beauty to beautiful, and we link competence to competent. So it is very important for people to have competence if they need to be competent. Yeah, so let's go to the next slide, please.
Yeah. So, sir, I know we also have a few polls in place. Do you
Yes,
want me to launch a quick poll based on
yes, please.
this? Yeah.
Yes, please.
Yeah. So, audience, just one moment. I'm going to launch a quick poll for all of you. Sir, also, I don't think your camera is on. I just wanted to let you know that. Yeah.
I think it is on now.
Yeah, you
Let
might
me
want.
check.
Yeah, I might want to check that. Yeah, now it's fine, sir. So, audience, just one moment. I am going to quickly launch one poll for you. All right. So some of these polls, in fact, all of the polls here are fully done by Mr. Avinash himself. So I'm just going to quickly read this for all. What are better predictors of success in life amongst the below mentioned options? Is it intelligence and aptitude, school grades, your academic status, or is it personal features, be it communication, patience, so on and so forth? Okay, I see that not one person has clicked the first one yet.
Yes. So we have got very enlightened audience today. So I'm very happy to interact with this enlightened audience. So that makes my work very easy.
Audience, can we have maximum interaction on this end? So we obviously have a few more polls that are incoming. I'd like to see maximum responses over here. Okay, can I have one more? Okay, great. I think we have 20 responses. Great. All right. All right, great. So let me just quickly share the results. Well, the results are way too obvious, but I will anyway share it. Okay. All right. So clearly, all of them have selected personal features. So, any comments on this?
Right. So the audience is, as I said, is very enlightened audience I have today with me. So it will make my job very easy. So it's 100% true that, okay, intelligence, aptitude, or for example, which usually we measure as school grades. So they are not guarantee for the success in life. So there are other things, for example, communication skill, patience, EQ, how the person is able to handle stress, or the attitude towards working hard. So these all things are enrolled all together, and that lead to success or failure to the person. So we'll go to the next slide. So this was a study done by right. So American psychologist David McClelland, he did a study in 1970 and he asserted that intelligence and aptitude tests are not a good predictor of success in education or in life. So David McClelland pointed out that there are other person features like communication, skill, patience, realistic goal setting, ego development, etc. They are better predictors for the success in life. So here we understand that, okay, so we understand that, okay, it is not only one aspect. So there are various competencies which are required to be successful in our professional journey or maybe in personal life also. Now we'll go to the next slide, please. So we need to understand, we can have one poll here. Second poll.
Yeah. Just a moment, sir. I'll launch the poll right away. All right, audience. Choose the right option for defining competency. Is it skill plus knowledge, or is it manifestations of skill and knowledge? Let me leave this on for the next 1 minute. Also, audience, I'd like to mention that if you have any queries related to the topic as the slides move on, please put it on the Q&A tab that you will be able to see at the bottom of your screen, I believe, or you can simply use the chat. We will take it up towards the end. Okay, we have almost equal responses, that 50-50 right now. All right, great. Okay. Okay, audience, one thing that I am glad is I'm seeing the engagement responses only climb up with each poll. Let's see. All right, let me end the poll and I'll just share the results. Mr. Avinash, any comments on this? We see that there's a slight bit of advantage on the first option.
Right. So we will see, we'll discuss on this. So it says that, okay, the competencies are equal to skills and knowledge, or competencies are manifestations of skill and knowledge. So let's try to understand what we actually mean by competencies. So competencies actually, they only include behavior that demonstrate excellent performance. So you cannot say that competencies are equal to skill and knowledge. This is very important for us to understand. Competence is actually a manifestation of skill and knowledge. So if I am a knowledgeable person, possibly, so I will not say that, okay, the person has a competency. For example, a person has a person knows about coding. So he has a knowledge of coding, but I cannot say that he has got desired competence in coding unless and until he is able to deliver it, right? So we say that, okay, the knowledge, it has to be applied. So competency do include skills, but it is a manufactured skill that produces success, and competencies will be skill which are manifested. So competencies are not work motive, but include observable behavior related to the motives. So what we want to say here is that, okay, if you have a particular skill, so that you cannot say that the person has is having a competency. The person has should be able, capable enough to demonstrate that competency at work. Then we say that, okay, yes, it is a competency. A person is knowledgeable. He has got good knowledge of language, English possibly. So it doesn't mean the person who has got good knowledge of a particular language, the person will have a high competency in communication, right? We will say that a person who is having high competency in communication when the person is able to transfer the information, take the information, and enter into meaningful discussion with other people, right? So a person possibly is competent communicator when he has got knowledge of the language, but also he understands the nitty-gritties. He understands the body language. He understands the meaning of tone, the how the subtly what is the reading between the lines and all this thing. So competence is actually a application of skills and knowledge. Next slide, please. Right. So as we see in this slide here, so I will like you to pause for a moment and have a look at the slide, and then we'll start discussing on this. Right. So we understand that no, the it is competency is actually a mixture of skill, knowledge, and the motive or attitude. So it all put together will be then it will lead to competency. So I remember somebody saying that, okay, the K was missing. So thank you for pointing out. So we got that also. So then it is a complete picture of K, S, and A, right? So knowledge, skill, and attitude or motive. So these all are put together. When we apply this, then we it will lead to the competency. So I hope this is clear. So we'll go to the next slide. We'll try to understand what we understand from the competency. So we are taking example of a simple competency, that is collaboration. So in collaboration, we all know talk around that, okay, we have to collaborate, we need to collaborate, and it is very important that for teamwork, to be successful in life, in professional life, it is very important that person need to collaborate. So how collaboration will come and what's meaning of collaboration? So as we can see in the slide, so there are, we are seeing that 4 levels of collaboration. Let's try to understand what's the meaning of the basic level of collaboration, basic competency. So I will require a basic competency in a very junior person. And as we grow more or as our role become more and more complex, so the level of competency is expected is will keep on increasing. So let's try to understand the competency collaboration. When it is a basic competency of collaboration, what is expected? The person should be able to actively listen. The person who actively listens and clarifies understanding where required and is trying to learn from others. So this is what we understand from the basic. This is a basic definition of competency collaboration. Similarly, also the person should be able to empathize with the audience and formulate message accordingly. So here we are not talking about a person's ability to listen or ability to speak. So here we are bringing a lot of things like ability to clarify things, clarifying understanding, empathizing, right? And able to tailor make the message according to the audience. If the audience is failing to understand basic things, then you go to the level of that level of audience and you tailor make. For example, when I speak to uh, uh, maybe a junior employees, then possibly then I will try to keep it very simple. so that I will not use very heavy terms, right? I will try to uh, make tone down my message in or try to simplify my message, and I will try to pass on the message in bits and pieces for maybe class 4 employees, for example, right? So that means I have got a competency and I am able to adjust that according to the need of the employee, right? Or type of the employee. Similarly, what's happening here is in case of collaboration, basic collaboration requires sharing of resources and information. And it also involves responding promptly to others, team members, and needs. So, although it looks very difficult, but this is what we expect, don't we? We expect at least this thing when we are expecting collaboration from a team member. So, this is as simple as this. So, when this is a basic level of collaboration. Now, let's try to understand when we'll call that, okay, the person is having intermediate level of competence in collaboration. So, he must have definitely all the competencies, all he should be able to do whatever is required in basic competency. But furthermore, he should be able to have slightly better level, right? He should be able to balance complementary strength in teams and seek diverse contribution and perspective. So that is the intermediate competency on collaboration, which is required. Similarly, he or she need to involve team members in decision making that impact them. So then we say that, okay, yes, he is having not only basic competency, he is having a slightly higher level of competency, that is intermediate level of competency. When we come to advanced level of competency, so here what will happen is that the the person will be requiring cross functional teams, so he has to collaborate with cross functional teams from diverse location or different departments, and he also build and maintain relationship across the company. Whereas in case of expert, the further a higher level of competency is required. So this is about collaboration. Now I will try to make it slightly more simple by giving an example of a competency known as competency of communication. Now, if I have to ask you that, okay, there are different levels of competency required for various positions. So I am giving you 3 positions and try to correlate with that. So first position possibly is of a receptionist, right? So we are trying to correlate what competencies of communication are required for a receptionist. Second, let's take a role of a teacher. So what level of competencies are required for a role of a teacher? And third, possibly let's take example of maybe a TV anchor, television news anchor, and who is engaging in debate with all the people. So there are 3 roles. So do you think that all this role will require the same level of competency in communication, or there will be some different required? Yes, audience, you can type your answer.
Yeah. Audience, you can use the chat, I think. I should do it. Different. Okay, all of them have mentioned different, so.
Right. So we clearly understand that different level of competencies are required for different people, right? Different roles. So I am saying that, okay, for definitely receptionist, I require a receptionist with a good communication skill. I cannot have a person to work as a receptionist who is having a poor communication. But I assume, and most of you will also agree with me, that when it comes to have a role of a teacher, then possibly then that person will require higher level of competence in communication compared to that of a receptionist. And definitely when it comes to a TV anchor, the competency level of communication will be very, very higher. Now the question to usually we ask is, what is the different? Why shouldn't a receptionist have as high level of competency as that of a TV anchor? Yes, I'm a very no. I want to have a person where I am a person. I want best of the best workforce for me. So I give a mandate to my HR that, okay, please recruit a person, and that person should have a very high level of competency in communication, and that should be matching the communication competency of a TV anchor. So what will happen in that case? So number one, it will be very difficult to get a receptionist with that level of competency. All those people who have got such a high level of communication competence in communication, they possibly may not like to work as a receptionist, right? So number one, availability is difficult. If at all I get a person, fortunately, then the person will ask a salary that possibly maybe it will be very difficult for me to afford, right? If at all possibly, so for an argument's sake, we say that no, I can afford a very high salary to receptionist even. Okay, you can afford the salary of receptionist, so the person with very high level of competence in communication is working as a receptionist at a very high salary, but I'm not very sure how long that person will stick to this job, how long the person will be enjoying, right, the role of receptionist. Possibly he will not be able to use his competencies, right? So I'm trying to build a context here. So what we are trying to understand from here is that there are different levels of competency required, and different roles will require different levels of competency. Similarly, if I say that, okay, the competency in the driving, right? So it is very futile for me to select an accountant based on his driving skill. I cannot be selecting an accountant uh, because he's a very good driver. So this competency is not required for the job. So we should understand that a competency, whatever we are asking, should match that role, right? So this is the context I wanted to set at the beginning. So now we'll go to the next slide, please. Now we come to a very frequently used term, core competence. So Professor John said that, okay, core competence is doing what you are bloody good at. So core competence of an organization, so every organization should have a core competence. So this core competence is required to differentiate it from its competitor, right? So if I say that the core competence of a Taj hotel is possibly their customer service. So that is their no hallmark. So much so they are involved in customer service that even at the time of the attack, 9/11 attack, these people they stayed there, right? So that core competence is inbuilt, ingrained. It is in their blood. It is in their DNA, and so day in and day out they breathe about this only the customer service, and it get ingrained into it, and it differentiate the Taj hotel possibly from other hotels where they give a very high premium to the customer service. Now let's try to understand what are the four tests of core competence. When we will say that, okay, the person, this competency is a core competence. So first thing is, this core competence is a bundle of skill and technologies that are critical for organization success. So I cannot say that, okay, this is core competency for my organization if I cannot be 100% sure that this core competency will lead to success of my organization. Coming back to the example of a Taj Hotels, for example, so again, that customer service is definitely very critical for the success of the organization. So yes, so number one, they identify that this is core competency, and the test is that, okay, yes, it is critical for the organization success. Number second test we have to give for the test for core competence is has to be manual asset that set the organization apart from the competitors. It should be differentiator. So, for example, certain organization, the differentiator is they are very fragile, right? So they are low cost. They operate at very low cost, and they pass on the benefit of economy to the customers. So that is the competence possibly, and in that case, then it should be able to differentiate it from the competitors. Also, in case of core competence, I will say that this is my core competence for my organization when it is making a disproportionate contribution to what customer perceive. It's not only that I am thinking that this is my core competence. It should be my success lies on the fact that even the customers perceive that yes, it is a core competence. So it's not like that me as a hotelier think that okay, my core competence is a customer service, but possibly the customer don't think so, and they are no, posting very bad review about my customer service on maybe Google or other social media. So then, and possibly maybe they don't like my customer service as much. Possibly they like the ambience more, right? So what we want to understand from what we are trying to understand here, that a core competence is that competence that is even the customer acknowledge and they say that yes, it is what makes it different, what and it is added value. This is what I get only from this organization, and this is not I am not getting from the other organization. So these points are very important because I got a question asked by one of the participant. So they were saying that, okay, we have to discuss what we do in case of a startup. How do we determine the competencies of this startup? So if you are into that profile of startup, or you are the entrepreneur, and you are starting up a business, so your startup, you should understand that okay, these are my core competence, and I will say that oh, these maybe don't pick up maybe 20 core competence, so it is very difficult, right? So you should have those core competencies on your plate, way which you can develop, and which you can the no even the customer perceive, and which is going to give you a critical advantage over the competition, right? So these are all important things which all the organizations should have. So that is all about core competence. It is very important that every organization has got a core competence. So first we understand what are the maybe the top level management, they or the promoters, they sit together and they decide that okay, how we want to distinguish ourselves from the competitor, and based on that no we like a funnel, you narrow down on the few of the core competencies, then based on that we want to have it. So these core competencies must be present on all our employees, right? So now let's see how we can relate this core competence with the other the points we're discussing. Next slide, please. So I think we have a poll here.
Not really, sir.
Not okay.
No.
Right.
We'll have
Sorry,
few
sorry.
polls later. Yeah.
Sorry.
Huh.
So now let's try to understand what is the competency framework.
Sure.
So
Yeah. Sorry,
yeah,
sir. Do
so
you want me to? Sorry for interrupting. Do you want me to go to the next previous slide, sir?
yes, please.
Okay.
Right. So many times, if you see read literatures, business literatures, and when you see a lot of articles written by various no various professionals, various managers, where they're discussing or HR expert, where they're discussing competency framework. Many times they also refer to competency model or competency dictionary, right? So so many times when they are discussing about this competency model or competency dictionary, so they are usually talking about competency framework only. Uh, Sorry, my apologies. Right. So what we are trying to discuss was like so these are the things which we mix the competency directory and also possibly the competency framework, right? Uh, so in competency framework is involved in all everything. It begins from the employee life cycle, from recruitment, performance management, success planning, training development, every aspect of it. This we'll see in the next coming slides. So next slide, please. Right. So let's try to understand how competency, like competency model or competency dictionary or this thing will be utilized. So I have picked up various examples and we'll try to see these examples one by one. Although it may look to you that okay, these examples are repeating, but only thing is I am trying to bring a diverse examples from diverse type of industry and try to understand or try to know bring make a point that okay, these competencies are very important in various aspects. So let's try to understand, for example, in case of a technology company. So for a technology company, it will design a competency framework to align with digital transformation strategy. So always we have to understand that the strategy has to be your competency has to be aligned to the strategy, right? So based on that, the HR will collaborate with executive team and will try to identify the key competencies. So the HR will on their own will not possibly say that, okay, these are the core competencies which will require. So possibly HR is required to collaborate with the executive team and try to find out what are the competencies as we discussed in previous slide, like which is going to differentiate uh, this organization from the other organization, right? So the skills could be coding skills or digital marketing skills or data analysis, right? So let's take another example. For example, a retail chain in for example, we have to understand that okay, what are the core competencies we need to have. It is very important for the store manager to have in a retail company, right? So while I was working in Landmark, we conducted this exercise here. So there we came up with that, okay, that it is very important for us to hire those store manager who have got very high level of competency in customer service and stock management or maybe inventory management and who are sales driven. So they are focusing on sales performance, right? So based on the survey we conducted with the top ending, we started with our executive team, and then we also conducted the interview of the successful managers, and then we analyzed them and found out which are the competencies which are differentiating them from the other managers. So, for example, there is one store manager who is, or a couple of store managers who are very successful in their performance, and there are a couple of managers who are not as successful in their performance. Then we tried to compare, and then we came to know that okay, right, we identified that okay, these managers were performing very well. They are having higher competencies on customer service or inventory management, and they are sales driven. The sales performance competency is very high, right? So we check on ourselves, and then based on that, we also interview other these successful managers and executives and their seniors. Then we understand that okay, yes, we identify these competencies for success. Similarly, how the competency is also very important for recruitment and selection. So here example we have taken of a accounting firm. So the accounting firm is using competency based interview to hire auditors. So this we will also discuss in coming slides. So I'm just skipping it. Similarly, the pharma company was using competency based training program. This also we will see in the other slides. We can go to next slide, please.
Yeah, yeah.
Right. So there are example from a manufacturing company also. So where they are identifying the leadership competency required for the future executive, right? For example, if I need to promote somebody to the leadership role, so I will not just promote the person. So I will promote those person who show that okay, these are the important competencies which a person possesses. So these competencies could be global market knowledge and strategy thinking, right? And based on that, if I find that okay, the person I am trying to groom as successor, right? I am developing that person as a successor to some important leader. Then this person should have this basic competency. If the level is possibly maybe intermediate level, then my endeavor is to make this level of competency towards the expert level. So I try to develop the person on those competencies. So I identify the competency like strategic thinking, and then I'll try to work on that. Right. Similarly, these competencies are very also can be used for employee engagement, change management, and monitoring and adjusting. We can go to the next slide, please. Right. So now how the competency mapping will begin, how it will begin. So we have to try to understand, we have to link. So as I was giving example of a cricket match or a cricket team. So it will start from the role description, or the example, for example, I was saying that I will not hire an accountant based on his driving skill, right? So the first starting point is job description. So if I have to understand the competency, what are required for a particular job, so it will first begin with the job description. If the job description involve higher level of communication, then definitely then the communication is a competency I will look for in that particular person. Then I try to understand what is the exact role of that person, right? A person is maybe a receptionist. So what is his role? So what exactly does the receptionist does? So does the receptionist is just sitting and no, and welcoming the guest, or whether receptionist is sending mails or also or responding to the calls, or making answering the calls, or possibly taking the call from the irate customers and handling those objections. So based on that, and then we come to that, okay, what are the competencies required for this particular job? Then we try to understand whether the particular, so first thing is we say that, okay, what are the competencies required for a particular job? Then we try to compare whether this the role holder, the job holder, is having that job or not, sorry, that competency or not. Then we do the mapping of it, and then we try to bridge the gap. So this will be more clearer in the next coming slides. So let's see the examples. Next slide, please. Right. So I would like you to pause for a minute and have a look at this slide. So what here we are trying to understand is we are trying to compare the competencies of a person who is having regional manager, regional sales manager position, right? And what are the competencies required for that particular position? So on the left side, on the extreme left, we have mentioned the various competencies which are there. So business knowledge, leadership, result focus, customer focus, collaboration, sales skills, proactivity, conceptual thinking, innovation, communication, stamina, adaptability. Right. So for example, let's try to say that, okay, let's pick up the first competency, that is business knowledge. So again, we have to understand it is not only knowledge, but also the application of the knowledge. Then it will be the competency, right? The person that will say that it is the competency. Now, it is possible that the person may be having a business knowledge on the scale of 1 to 5. So I will rate him 4. Whereas the position may require this competency to be at the level of 5. It may happen that, for example, in case of leadership, the person may have the competency of 2, or maybe 3. In case of leadership, the person has a competency of 3, whereas this position require maybe competency of 2 is enough, right? Result focus, maybe competency required is 4, and the person has a competency of 4. Or as a customer focused competency, maybe the person has a competency of 5, and the position requires also 5. So what we are doing exactly here is we are trying to, first uh, first we should know what does the position required, what level of competency the position required, and what is the level of the competency the person who is having that occupying that position has it. So this is further clarified in the next slide. Right. So this is another example. So there is a brownish line or and also the blue line. So the brownish line is indicating what are the required proficiency level for a particular load, and whereas blue line indicates that okay, what is the actual proficiency level of the incumbent. So can anyone message? Can you just type what do you understand from this? Any of the participant would like to make any comment here?
Audience, anyone who'd like to mention?
Right. So Rumila is saying very good skill gap analysis, right? So there is a gap. So we understand that, okay, like Ishrat Ali has mentioned, forgive me if I'm not able to take all your names, right? So Mr. Murugan has made an interesting comment. He is saying that, okay, actual is less than the expected, right? So Mr. Murugan, possibly it is not true here, everywhere. In certain competencies, possibly the competency required is lower and the incumbent has a higher competency, right? So we will not focus on that. So it is like a God gift to me that, okay, if I have an employee, so who is having a higher competency than what is required. So I don't do anything on that, right? So I don't say to my employee that, okay, your competency is higher, so you need to reduce your competency. So I don't say anything, right? So where I will focus as already mentioned by the learned participant here already, that we are identifying the skill gaps. So I will focus on the areas where there is a skill gap, and also first I will start with the core competency, right? If I say that okay, these are my core competency, so these are the area where I will focus first. Later on, I will go to the other competence, right? So as I was saying earlier, also it is very usually what happen is we get very ambitious and we want to change everybody or bring in change in all the organization in 1 month, 2 months, right? So that everybody is possibly uh, start appreciating our role. But we should not engage into doing a lot of activities. We should do a few things which are very, very important and critical. So possibly, if I say that, okay, here, because competency C1 is okay, there's a gap between competency C2 and possibly there is a gap between competency C6 also. Sorry, competency C5, right? So those competencies where there are gaps, so we understand that and we start working on those competencies. I hope now it is very clear. So it is very, very important for us to understand as a manager, leaders, and training, learning, and development professionals that earlier, there was the concept that we uh, just we say that okay, spray and pray. Now we will try to relate to that after the poll. So can we run the poll?
Yeah. So again, let me just, I don't know if this would be fully relevant, but I will launch this. Okay, just one moment.
Yeah.
Yeah. Audience, hope you're able to see this on your screen. I'd, I would prefer to hire an employee with the following level of competency. Is it going to be high level of all competencies, or is it low level or high level of specific defined competencies? Let me leave this on for the next 1 minute. We also have one more poll after this, guys. So I will launch that maybe after a couple slides. Audience, also, I'd like to mention, I think I'm seeing good to see the responses. If there's any queries as well, I did see a few of them in between. We will get into the Q&A shortly after the slides. So there we can have dedicatedly the time for the questions, if any. Okay, great. So we have a clear winner here, which is high level of specific competencies. I'll just share the results. Yeah,
Yes.
since I have a good number of responses, let me share the results.
Yes, please.
Yeah. High level of specific competencies is what most of them have selected. So,
Very good. Right. So I will take the question from Colonel Hari Prasad. So he has raised a
sure.
very nice question. So he is asking, why do you recruit a person when his skill competency is not matching? Right. So you are right, Colonel. So we should not be hiring a person whose skill competency are not matching. But on the practical aspect of it, please try to understand. I will try to give you example of an apple, so or possibly a potato. So this is the example I still remember, which was shared with my boss to me in my earlier days when I began as my career in HR. So he told me a very insightful. He gave me an example. He said that okay, it is very. We all dream to have an apple which is very shiny and has got no spots, right? So ideally, we should have such an apple that okay, which has got no spots and no very shining and everything is fine, right? And we buy it. But what he said is that okay, number one, it is very difficult to get such apples, or for example, it is more relevant to potatoes, right? Spot free and everything. So number one, it is very difficult to get them, and if at all we get them, they are very costly. And there is not much of a difference between them and the other potato with maybe a couple of spots here and there, right? So here what I will say is a potato with a spotless potato or well-rounded or maybe fitting or maybe the size of my palm, right? So it is a huge potato and this is what is ideally required. But I should also understand whether I need to pay such a high price, whether I really need such potato. And is there any difference between the taste of that potato and if I buy a potato which is having a minus spot? I'm not saying buy a potato which is really rotten and no, it is smelling. So definitely we don't buy that potato. We definitely can take a potato which is having a few spots, and when we try to with the use of knife we can easily peel it off and the inside it is as good as this one. So this is where I will link with the competencies. So ideally I would like to have a receptionist who is possibly as beautiful as Aishwarya Rai, for example, if I may use this example, and communication skill of maybe Barkha Dutt or somebody like that for receptions. But I have to understand that okay, do I number one, it is very difficult to get such people, and if at all, if I get that, whether I can afford the salary, if at all I can afford it, whether that person will be able to stay in that. So here, so whatever most of the participant has said is, so possibly I will like to hire a person which is having high level of specific competencies, which are my core competencies. There is no compromise, right? For example, I can definitely hire a driver with the very basic knowledge or no knowledge of Excel, but I will not hire and maybe a finance manager with maybe even intermediate knowledge of Excel, uh, Excel skills, right? So I need a finance manager with very high competency of analytical skill, and possibly I may not require a high level of competency or analytical skill competency for a receptionist. So we understand from here that different level or different job roles will require different level of competencies. And although it is very ambitious to look for the best of the best person, but we all understand that we don't hire the always the best person. We usually hire the person who is best fit, right? So right person for the right job is how you will hire. So when I require a needle, I will not hire a sword or maybe a knife. I will hire a needle. So we can go to next slide, please. Or we'll have the poll?
Okay, sir. I mean, I can launch.
Yeah.
So audience, let me just quickly copy a link. Now, this is not going to be on, obviously not on Zoom. I'm going to redirect all of you to our LinkedIn page for about 10-15 seconds. Audience, I hope you're able to see this link on the chat. Now, we have a live poll running on our LinkedIn page right now as we speak. I'd request all of you to quickly click on this and just take about 15 to 20 seconds to go there, answer the input, input the post with your poll, and then come back here. We can continue with the presentation. So let me just read the poll for you. What is the most effective approach for conducting a successful training program? Now, I believe Mr. Avinash had already covered certain aspects in the examples part, if you remember. So let me just read it again. What is the most effective approach for conducting a successful training program? Now, there are some options. Train employees on all competencies, identify gaps and then train on competencies, or if there's anything else, you can mention in comments. Oh, I'm truly impressed. We have like 15 votes already on this end. Great. Okay. Okay, good. Can we have a few more votes before we get back to the presentation? Identify gaps and train. Yes, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, we have a clear winner on the polls here, in fact.
Yeah.
Good. Okay. All right. So you can continue, sir. Looks like all of them are truly following your presentation
Yeah.
at the right pace. Yeah. Okay. So
Right.
I'll go to the next slide.
Thank you, participants. So although I'm trying to rush through it, but the topic is so interesting now, so it is. I may take some more time. So wherever it is like important, then that I will explain.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So we know that, okay, so competency, right? Next slide. So this is, we
Okay.
all understand that, right? So this also we have understood that, okay, competency is the important criteria. So first, everything start from the business model or the business strategy, and we use competency as a no as a building block. So we use in job design and job specification. Then we match the competency, and then based on that we do it. In case of interview, will what we have to do, that we'll also see in the next slide, incoming slides. Right. So this is very important thing. Possibly, few of you already are using it. So they say that we have to use the STAR technique in competency-based interview. So in the STAR technique, what we do is for a particular competency, we have to find out, we give the situation to the person. Okay, what are the situation we are involved? Then we ask what are the tasks we are supposed to accomplish in this situation, and what action the person take, and what are the result no the person achieved out of it. So what we are trying to find out from here is we are trying to find out that, okay, whether the person is having the right competency, whether the person is able to apply the competency and come out with the result. So it is very easy to remember. So you start with star. So, we remember star. So what is situation? So for example, I need to understand that, okay, the problem solving competency of my manager. So I will ask him, whenever tell me a situation where no you find it difficult, or which was difficult decision you have taken recently. So by this, so he will give a situation, and then he will enlist the task and what action he has taken. Based on that, we will able to understand whether the person really has the decision making or leadership skills, or he's just faking it, or he's just saying that I am a good leader. So unless and until a person is able to demonstrate that in his day-to-day practice, or when he is able to give you example, so uh, it is advisable that you don't hire a person saying that who says that I'm a very good leader or I'm possibly. good problem solver. So you said just ask them situation where the person had to solve a difficult problem, and then the person will start, explaining it where based on the star, this pattern. Then you come to conclusion, yes, whether the person has a competency or not, right? So this could be applied to and any competencies or any core competencies which you have identified, and based on that, the person possibly answers, and you find out whether the person possesses the competency and what level of competency the person is having or where he is lacking. Next slide, please. Right. So now the application on training framework. So this we have also identified, like we do the skill inventory. We find, like we have seen in earlier slide, we understand what are the skills required for particular positions to do a successful role. What would be the uh, what would be skills, what would be the competencies required, and then we assess the person, right? Like in earlier slide, we found out there were some skill gaps. Based on that, we designed the program, right? So unlike spray and pray, where we were giving training on all the competencies to the all the employees, so I don't waste the resources. Right. What will happen that when I am giving training on all the competencies to all the employee, I am not hitting, the bullet is not hitting where it should hit. So it is going, I'm wasting, there's a lot of waste of my resources. So I first identify what are the skill gaps on my people and whether these skill gaps are really required to perform a function or role. And based on that, I provide the training. Right. Next slide, please. So here is an example of a training matrix. So here we understand that the different positions like of supervisor and manager, right? So certain positions will require certain skills at certain levels, and other position will require skill at certain levels. So based on that, I develop the competency in my people. I hope it's clear to all of you. Yes. Next
Yeah.
slide, please.
Audience, any questions on this end before we go to the next slide? Okay. All right. I'll
Right.
move to the next slide.
Yeah,
Yeah.
please. Now it is very interesting slide. So here we are coming to the last part of our discussion webinar today. How do we use the competency matrix in talent management for promotion or developing people? Which person should I promote? Which person should I reward more? Right. So here on the one axis we have the years in position from low to high. On the other axis we have x-axis we have got competencies low to high. Right. So for example, a person who is having low competency and his tenure is less, so he has possibly recently joined. So what I do is I pay him below the reference salary. Whereas I have a person who has recently joined me and who is having a high competency. So I pay the person at slightly, I give the market premium. Possibly I will give slightly higher than what the market premium is, so that the person doesn't leave me and quit and go to the competitor. Similarly, if I go to the person who is having slightly uh, higher, low competency and possibly is having a high tenure. So such people possibly we have to search for alternative position. That person are not fit for the that particular position at least. Because no, I understand that if a person has spent a considerable time or tenure in the organization and still his competence is very low, and I am assuming that you have also given a try to train that person and all this thing, so it is very difficult on this. So that's the reason, right? So similarly, whereas a person who is having a high competency and person has spent a high number of years, definitely I will say that he is a high potential. He is a star for me. So I have to definitely consider him for promotion. If I don't take care of person who is loyal to me also, and who is also having a high level of competency, I don't take care of that person, then ultimately what will happen? I may the person is at risk. I may lose this person, right? So similarly, based on this matrix, so we can design our talent management, and we can have a talent management strategy based on where the person is fitting, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah, sir.
I
So
think, yeah,
that does bring us to the end, but just one more slide, I believe. Yeah.
yeah. So these are some of the examples from the industry. So Microsoft, IBM, and if I take the uh, example from India, Infosys and TCS. So these are the companies which are using it. General Electric is having a G leadership competency model, which is usually adopted across the globe, and so for leadership development, it is used as a, if I can use it as now as a reference book. So the various organizations, they are successfully using the competency model framework for long time. So different organizations use it in a different way, and but definitely we can always conclude that competency model is a very effective way to succeed in this competitive world, right? So now I am ready for questions.
Yeah, absolutely, sir. So we can get into the questions. So audience, we will take about 10 minutes for all the queries there is. Also, we will be giving the option of directly interacting with Mr. Avinash as well. So I see a few of them have raised their hands. But sir, can we do this on priority? I believe Mr. Hari had asked a question. I'll just read that out for you.
Yes, please.
One,
Yes.
yeah, he's mentioned one point you have missed out is the potential of candidates to acquire the desired skill. Your comments on this, please.
Right. So potential, you see, I agree with you, Mr. Hari, that okay, you can take the horse to the water, you cannot make the horse to drink. That the potential, that is one thing, the willingness of the person. Or potential is, for example, the like we saw in the slides earlier, a person has got high tenure, but is still is having a low low competency. That means person has possibly reached this peak of that this position of career. He is a plateau of his career. Then possibly there is no potential for the person to grow. So in that case, there is no point in trying to build up the competency of that person. That person is fit for that particular position. So if the person is loyal to you, let that person continue. So that bring me to the to highlight another very famous principle. They call it Peter's principle. So Peter principle says that everybody will rise in his career unless and until they reach a point where further they cannot rise. So you keep on rising in the career until you reach the level of your incapability. Incapability in a way that you are incapable to be promoted further. So, for example, a person who is a salesman, he will keep on becoming a senior salesman, supervisor, assistant manager, or manager. But it may happen that certain people they will get stuck at a position of assistant manager. Certain people maybe possibly can become a zonal manager also, right? So everybody will keep on rising in the organization, or keep on rising in their career based on their potential. When they reach the peak of it, when they exhaust the potential possibly, then according to Peter's principle, they cannot be further promoted, right? So I hope I am able to answer you. This is what you want to ask, Mr. Hari. Right. So they are saying how to remove their negative thoughts considering earlier practices. So negative thoughts you cannot remove with a magic wand, right? Based on competency metrics, I will not say that you can remove any negative thoughts. So this is not this tool will not be effective possibly, in my opinion, to remove the negativity in a person. So you need to have a particular discussion with them, find out what is bothering it. pausing them. So there are two things. One is a skill gap. So there we also used to say that I used to ask my managers. So they used to bring to me the some issues. So I used to ask them whether it is a skill issue or whether it is a will issue. Right? If it is a skill issue and willingness is there, so I can train that person. If I sorry, if the manager say that sir, it is not a issue of skill, it is an issue of will or the willingness of the person, attitude of the person. So then I said that I cannot address it by training the person, right? Possibly then you have to find out whether we are providing the right conducive environment to that person or not. So then we have to start working on the other areas of other aspect of HR, try to find out what are the reasons why the person is not performing, why the person is not willing, right?
Right, sir. So there are a few of them who actually would like to interact with you directly. So
Yeah.
I will just,
So you're for the lack of time, I will be very happy if you can interact with me directly.
yeah, absolutely.
Uh,
So I'll just enable, so there's Mr. Joseph and Mr. Murugan.
yes,
So let me
please.
just do this first. Mr. Joseph, you can unmute and interact. Yeah, you're on mute, Mr. Joseph. You have to unmute. Mr. Joseph, can you hear us? Okay, I will come back to you. Oh, yeah, I think he's unmuted.
Hi.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
could hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you now.
Yeah, I raised a question. When you identify a set of competencies in a position, similarly, you're identifying a set of competencies in all positions. How do you now put them in the HR processes? In the sense that how do you map them in the HR process, say recruitment or performance management or succession planning? So how do you, put those
Right,
competencies in those processes?
right. So, Mr. Joseph, you like to give me a particular example on training and development or recruitment? Anyone
You
or
can look at T&D, yeah, or succession planning, for example, or performance
right,
management process.
right. So let's take
Let's take PMP, yeah, or recruitment.
TND, right? Recruitment. Okay, so let's take
Yeah,
recruitment, right?
selection, yes, yeah.
Right. So very good. So it's a very good question asked by Mr. Joseph. So I will say that okay. For example, let's you want to you have any position in mind? So which I can use as an example, or can I use any example? Right.
Let's
So
look at even receptionists, the same position.
oh,
And
okay. So
what my quantifying the set of competencies. So, suppose positions. In that case, like no, you're coming up with a set of competencies for each of the position. But how do you,
right.
in the sense that now, how do you generalize and how do you put them in the HR
Correct.
processes?
Correct. I understand. Receptions because there
Yeah,
are very few receptions, so possibly I will go to salesman, right? Okay.
yeah, yeah.
So we require a lot of salesmen because it is easy to relate also. So what will happen is first I will speak to the supervisors of salesmen or the business managers and try to understand from them that what are the competencies they think are very important for a successful salesman,
Mm-hmm.
right? So
Yes.
I'm asking maybe 10 managers. So everybody I'm asking the okay you rate 1 to 10.
Mm-hmm.
So 10 people are rating 1 to 10 and they are giving me 10 competencies. So I am getting possibly uh, a list of competencies.
Yes, please.
So based on that, what I will do, I will try to find out which of the competency which most of the managers are saying are more important.
Right.
Right, right. They will say customer oriented, presentability or communication. So
Yes.
definitely because they are the people who are working on the field or maybe who are the real managers who are supervising such salesmen. So they will be able
Mm-hmm.
to give me the set of competencies. So that
Right.
competencies is taken number one. After
Mm-hmm.
that, what I do is then I run a verification process. Maybe I can have a meeting or focus group discussion with salesmen.
Mm-hmm.
I ask them that, okay, tell me, and I select those people who are successful,
Mm-hmm.
right? I ask
Yes.
them what is making you successful in this particular, what are the competencies you think are is responsible for making you successful in this particular role.
Right.
So they will also give me maybe 5, 10 or whatever, they will give me a list of this competencies. Again, I will do
Yes,
same
please.
process. I will try to find out then which are the important competencies they are saying, right?
Yes.
Now I have the feedback from the managers. They have identified certain competencies. Then I have the also the competencies given by the uh, successful salesman.
Yes, please.
Now you have to do the reverse testing of it. Now you have to find out whether those salesmen possibly who are unsuccessful or who are not as productive, whether they are lacking these competencies or not.
Right.
Right. So then
Right.
that is the second way of verifying it again. So then we interact or we observe, or if you can interact with them, you find out. Then you will find out that yes, then it will help you to reaffirm that okay, what the managers, supervisors are saying and what the successful incumbent are saying, that is
Right.
matching to the people what is no what we observe from the unsuccessful people. So based on
Right.
that, I get a matrix. I say that okay, these 6 or maybe 10 water competencies. So my suggestion would be don't keep it laundry list. It should not be 100 competencies. So we don't want to be we don't want to have Superman hired in our organization,
True.
right?
True.
So
True. Yeah.
we should be no realistic finding out what are the real
We should be
competencies,
pragmatic. Yes.
right?
Yeah.
Pragmatic.
Yeah.
So based on that, I develop a competency directly for a particular position. So I do
Mm-hmm.
it, and based on that, then when I start doing interview, then I ask those pertinent question, which are no, which is able to differentiate a person who is having this competency with not with other things, right? Possibly I can use
Yes.
star technique or like that. So I
Yes.
do the interviews and I select those people who are high in these competencies, right? If I am
Yes.
still I want to be more empirical, then what I do is then I also observe these people and then find out whether these people which I have selected, whether their performance is different from those people who were not selected based on this competency. And based on that, maybe in 1 year or so, in 1 year time is sufficient for you to freeze that. Okay, now then you can freeze that. Okay, yes, these competencies we freeze it for my organization, and these competencies are required for this role. So I
Right.
do. So we need to do it for different roles only. And when once the exercise is over, so maybe every 2 years or so we revisit it again because the market is changing, dynamics changed also. So we say that whether these competencies are still relevant in the current market or not. Based on that, we freeze it and then we are good to go and we can reap the harvest actually. No, we can utilize the benefit of this competency mapping in recruitment.
All right. Okay.
I hope I am able to clarify this to you, Mr. Joseph.
Yes, that's right. Yeah. Thanks so much. Kind of you.
Thank you, Mr. Joseph. All right.
So do you have any other
Yeah, we
question?
have Mr. Murugan. Mr. Murugan, you can actually unmute if you have a query, that is.
Can you able to hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay, thank you, Avinash. It's a good session. See, we have not spoken anything about the talent actually. The word talent management, talent development also in most of the organization they speak, how it is different from competence. My second question is that organization development is competency development is a subset of organization development or it's a different? OD, they call it.
Yeah, so organization development, I will pick this question first. So organization development and talent development, sorry, will be slightly different. Organization development is a bigger aspect, right? So possibly it will only competency development will not be enough. I cannot say that okay, done and dusted. I have like no enhanced competencies of my people. So for organization development, it will involve a lot of more activities to be done. Right? Possibly this is a good topic you are suggesting. Maybe we can cover this another topic, right? So organization development is a bigger picture, and competency development is possibly a piece of it, and it is a core, a vital piece of it. Yeah. What was your first question?
What is the talent? How it is different from skill, knowledge, and competence?
Yeah. So possibly talent and competence are usually used interchangeably, right? Talent is application of your skill, knowledge, and no attitude. He said that the application is talent. Similarly, I can say that okay, we can loosely say that okay, it is competency and talent was almost same.
Okay, and the competency cannot be validated in an interview or your star model. It is observable for some long time of period and then it is decided, or is there is any test or anything?
Right. So based on the star model, you see, you have to understand that when you observe the candidate, so what is the level of the complexity? For example, somebody is saying that okay, I know I am good in solving problems, right? So competency is solving problem. That's one thing. So when you ask examples, then when you say that when you give a very petty example that there was fight between two colleagues and I solved it, right? Then I understand that I will not grade that person, and possibly according to that person, this is the best problem he has solved. So I will definitely not rate that person very high on problem solving, right? So on a scale of 1 to 5, possibly I will say that okay, you are at maybe 1 or 2, right? So when a person is answering your question based on that star model, then you can definitely make out whether the person has been able to solve a real problem or he is just no, just giving a vague example like no, there was fight between two colleagues and I solved it, right? So I will not possibly say that okay, this person is fitting my bill. This person is fit to be maybe a zonal manager or maybe a general manager, right? Because he is solving the fight between two colleagues only, and this is what he is quoting me as an example at the time of interview. At the time of interview, if you observe very carefully and if you practice it, if you do it, so you will find out, you will be able to make out use of this competency. You will be able to determine what is level of this competency, and based on that, also there are no there is a huge directory. So it is another topic actually for want of time I didn't cover. So there are various questions. So we used to frame different questions, and based on different questions, you will be able to find out whether the person is having what level of competency.
Thank you. Is that group discussion also is a part of the tool for competency?
Group discussion, I will not recommend it as a part of competency, right? Because no, it is many times it is assumption.
Okay,
Right.
thank
You
you.
can because it may happen that a person may maybe is depending on personality is not able. You cannot say that person is not aggressive because he did not jump into the fish market. Nowadays, I in my observation, sorry to say that many times GDs nowadays are no people take a pride saying that okay, it was a good group discussion. It was a fish market. Everybody was shouting. So I don't think that is the right way of group discussion. Right. So for
Thank you, Avinash.
recruitment.
Thanks
Thank
for
you.
clarification.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Murugan. All right. I think we can take one last question, sir, before we call it a day. Mr. Hari Prasad. Just a moment. Mr. Hari, you can unmute.
Can you hear me, please?
Yeah.
Can you hear me?
Yes, sir. Yes, Mr. Hari, we can hear you.
Yeah. Very often I have been hearing this line function and support function, and HR unfortunately has been grouped under support function. So with this modernization, with this competency metrics coming up and all that, and which is adding to the return on investment, it should actually become a line function.
Okay. Right. I don't think the
Your
HR has
comments.
become. Yeah.
Your comments.
Yeah. Right. It's a good question. I understand this. So the HR is. I don't think it will be a line function. It will always remain a support function.
Support function. Huh?
Yeah. The only thing is to be a successful HR professional, it is important that you make your line manager as HR manager. Right. So they should be your representative. If your HR has to be successful in any organization, till the time they get a buy-in from the line manager, they will not be successful. For example, again coming to competency metrics, right? If HR say that okay, guys, we have got a very wonderful no initiative. Now we are launching competency metrics or competency framework. Based on that, we'll do training and we'll do recruitment and selection. Everything we'll do on this only. So HR announces and they are not taking input from the line managers. So believe me, it's going to be doomed. it will not be successful.
And
Right.
actually, one of my
Yeah.
professors in MBA, he
Yeah.
got away by saying that if it is a human resource management, uh, what do you call, oriented organization like
Uh, uh,
uh,
uh, uh,
data management
okay.
or online software development, on-site employment. So human capital is used as a revenue earning model. Then it
Correct.
becomes a line function. I know I said don't have to confuse the whole issue. I asked simple question: is HR a line function or a support function? So he said it
Yes,
depends.
yes. Slowly, possibly, I think the HR will definitely become a strategic function. Definitely, I can say yes. It will be, it is already a strategic function nowadays. Earlier, it was a transactional, it had a transaction role. So now that from transaction role, it is definitely moving towards the strategy. But line function, I am, in my opinion, I may be wrong or maybe proved wrong later on also.
Okay,
So,
thank you. Thank you.
yeah,
I got it. I got it. It is very difficult to answer that question.
yeah.
Okay, bye.
Thank you, Mr. Hari. All right, so I think we have answered a good bunch of questions, and honestly, it's been great with the kind of engagement that you've received in this webinar. Once again, I thank all of you for the engagement and the participation on a Friday. In fact, we have almost extended the webinar by about 40 minutes. All thanks to Mr. Avinash and the audience themselves, guys. So thank you all, and a special thanks to Mr. Avinash for yet another, very insightful presentation. In fact, I'm sure the audience have had a lot of takeaway from this session, sir. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much.
Thank you, audience. Thank you, Siddharth.
Yeah. Thanks a lot, audience. And just a side note, those of you who've shown interest for the demo of our solution, we will reach out to you in the next 1 or 2 working days. And we will also share the webinar recording and the presentation. For some of them who had asked, Mr. Ramesh also had asked, I believe. We will share it as a PDF file in the post-webinar mail. So you should be able to receive that by Monday. Until then, you will have to wait it out. So on that note, I would like to close the session for today. Thank you all and have a wonderful weekend. Thank you.